What's goody gang? What's goody gang? What is good? You already see the vibe. Shit, you.
Actually tap View Album. In addition to the hidden pivot, we can turn that on. We can play motion. Of course, we've got our sharing options, show featured content, show holiday events, and then you can reset this as well. So it's up to you. However you want to fully customize this, you can. Go along with photos, we have some updates to the camera as well. The camera itself looks pretty much the same on all of the most recent models. However, with the iPhone 16, we'll have camera capture that will change this a little bit, but we have some new settings and options here. If we go into settings, scroll down to camera, within camera, there's an update to actually play music at the same time you're recording video. So you'll see here it says record sound, and it says stereo mono, but now we have a new option for allow audio playback. Audio playback will not pause automatically when recording video. When playing audio using the iPhone speaker, audio will be recorded in mono. So if you leave this on and
Gotta bring that back, chat. Hold up.
to go along with photos, we have some updates to the camera as well. The camera itself looks pretty much the same on all of the most recent models. However, with the iPhone 16, we'll have camera capture that will change this a little bit, but we have some new settings and options here. If we go into settings, scroll down to camera, within camera, there's an update to actually play music at the same time you're recording video. So you'll see here it says record sound, and it says stereo mono, but now we have a new option for allow audio playback. Audio playback will not pause automatically when recording video. When playing audio using the iPhone speaker, audio will be recorded in mono. So if you leave this on and you're playing a song, maybe we'll just play a song here. While you're playing a song, if we go into the camera, go to video, it will continue actually playing that song as you're recording. So that's something that's been updated that's a little bit new. Additionally, if we go into our settings, we have another option here. So if we go into preserve settings, we have a new option for controls menu. You can preserve the previously used camera tool when expanding the controls menu. If you have this enabled, and we go into the camera, and then we go into our tools, we'll press the little arrow here, and maybe we'll go into ProRes, or we can swipe over, use something else here. Maybe we want to go into action. If we
I'm
swipe
downloading
over,
it right
go
now.
back into camera, go back into our tools, it will stay on whatever we used last. So this is something that's been updated. If you want to preserve those settings, you can. Within our photos, if we go to take a photo and maybe we want to use the timer, we now have the option for 5 seconds. Previously, we just had 3 seconds and 10 seconds. If we're taking a photo and we want to enable the flash, of course we can just tap, but now we can get more options by pressing and holding. So if we press and hold on the flash option, we have auto, on, or flash
I got
off.
it.
So small changes, but something that's new. Also, for taking a portrait photo, they've updated this. So maybe we change this to something else. We now have a new control where we can control the actual light itself. So we can change this here from light to dark, making it change however we'd like. Something else Apple added in the camera app is if we go to video and maybe we're recording a video, we now have the option to pause the video while we're recording. This is something
Oh,
I know a lot of people have wanted for a long time, so you can simply pause, reset, then continue. So that's great. If you've wanted to use that feature, it's now here. Now let's take a look at music. If we go into music, and maybe we're in an album, if in that album we tap on the song itself, you'll see we have some new controls at the top. They've increased the size of shuffle, repeat, and autoplay. So it's great, makes it easier to press, easier to see, and it's something that's been updated. If we scroll down within this album, you'll see that we now have the full title name. So there is no mathematics to love and loss, and if the title's longer, it will just keep expanding. It will no longer cut off the title, so you can see the full song name right here. Also, there's updates with adding different songs. So maybe if we tap the 3-dot menu here, we have the option to add to library. We can now play next or play after. They've removed play last to play after, making it a little clearer. So if you want to play that after the next song, you can do that. Additionally, if we go back, maybe press and hold, we can now add the whole album to a queue. Tap on add to
and you
queue,
could put a
and now
whole
it's been added
playlist to
to a
play
queue of
after. So if your
songs.
playlist
So
finished,
again, go
another
back in,
playlist could
and you
be
can see
queued.
our queue here, scroll down,
That's
and
big.
you've got all the songs it's going to play. Additionally, if you want to clear the queue, you can do that. Just tap clear, clear queue, and it wipes it out, and you can start this over and listen to whatever you'd like. Now we have a really great feature that's for accessibility, and while we'll talk about accessibility features later, I wanted to mention this one as it's related to music. If we go into our accessibility settings and scroll down,
This thing, it's what's going on inside of me. It's my moderate to severe ulcerative colitis. It wasn't always this calm. You see went everywhere I did. Wondering when it would pop up next was
Down, we now have an option for music haptics. This allows us to feel our music. So maybe you're hard of hearing or you're deaf completely, you can actually turn on music haptics, play a sample, and it will vibrate the phone to sort of a song sample, and then it shows different apps that it's available in. Third-party developers can add this as well, and if we go into a song that's playing it, we actually can not only feel it, but we have an option to turn it off. So we can keep it turned on maybe in the menu, and if we want to enable it for a specific song, we can do that. So it's really simple to use and very great that they've actually added this. Also, if we swipe home, let's go to the main menu. They've changed the browse menu to new. They've sort of changed this throughout the OS, so that's been updated, and we now have the option to actually share play using spatial audio, but share playing to additional things such as Apple TV, Bluetooth enabled speakers, or even a HomePod. So if we maybe share to a HomePod here, give it just a moment, there we're playing the song. We now have options to share play in the bottom, so we can tap on the little icon here and enable share play using a QR code if we want to do that. So we can share play and let others control this on our HomePods and other devices. And with that QR code, we can share play this with people who don't even have Apple Music subscriptions. So if you want to just have friends over, they want to sort of contribute or change between it, you can now do that. If we go into podcasts, podcast gets an update here as well. Within a podcast, we now have chapters. So if the podcast creator has actually added chapters, you'll see them here as we scrub through different areas. And if they've added them within their notes, you'll see them as well. So within the notes, they have the option to add different chapters. And if they're here, you can tap on those chapters just to jump directly to that part of the podcast that you want to listen to. Very similar to what we have at the bottom of this video with chapters. In addition to this, search has been greatly improved. So maybe we're searching for Apple. You'll see all podcasts, what's in your library, and it sort of updates as you type. So maybe we just want iPhone. As we type, it will update the podcast with things that are relevant. If we tap cancel on this and we go back to this podcast, if we want to share this podcast, this has been updated to allow us to share from a specific point. So if we share the episode, we can now share from start or share from 2636 when we were listening. So you can share from either or, then share it to whoever you'd like from that specific point. If we go into the TV app, we'll swipe over. Within TV, if maybe we're playing a show, and if that show specifically supports it, we have a new Insights feature. Now this is on a lot of different Apple TV Plus episodes. So we have an also here. In this case, if we go into Insight, you can see information about every one of the actors in the scene. And if maybe we jump to the next section here, if there's music playing, you can then add that music to a playlist. So tap on it and it saves it into saved songs. So if we go back into music and then we go into our playlist, you can actually see that under saved songs. So if you've saved anything from specific episodes, you'll see it in one place so you can listen to it later. Additionally, if we go into an episode, we have some options in the bottom right. So of course we have subtitles, and these subtitles and things are enhanced this time around. So not only do we have audio tracks and subtitles, but we can go in and enhance the dialogue. So we can enhance dialogue with boost or enhance, which will make that actually sound a little bit louder if there's a lot of music or background effects or noise. And additionally, dynamic subtitles will show up based on what you're doing. So you can have it on auto, and if you do have it on auto, they'll show up at the right time. So maybe you've jumped to a different section, you want to jump back and sort of catch something you missed. It will quickly turn on those subtitles so you can see what they said and then turn back off. In addition to that, maybe you want to mute the audio, it will actually start to show the subtitles. And one other thing it will do is they'll show if maybe a language shows up that's not set to what you're listening to. So maybe you have your language set to English, something pops up in Spanish, it will then show those subtitles for the Spanish spoken language in English. So it works really seamlessly and it's pretty great. It works across Apple TV as well. Messages gets quite a few updates this time around. If we go into Messages, Messages now supports RCS. Now this is based on carrier and country, but it should be enabled, but you will need to enable it in your settings. If we go into Settings, and then we go down to Messages, so go to your apps, scroll down, and then you'll see RCS messaging. Within RCS messaging, make sure this is enabled. Then if we go back to messages, you should see RCS, but it may not show up until you message someone that actually has RCS. Once you actually have that enabled, it adds a few different things, such as better quality photos and videos, emoji reactions, so maybe we want to say we want to react to this one, I could give a thumbs up, that will show up on the other phone as well. So if I bring in a Pixel phone, you'll see it here, where I actually gave a thumbs up, and it showed up on the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Group chats should be much better. It should be easier to text back and forth between Android and iPhone or someone just not using iMessage. And if I start typing, we'll start typing hello, you'll actually see the typing status here on the iPhone while someone on Android is typing. It works the other direction as well. So as I'm typing here on the iPhone, you'll see it on Android. It supports those better quality photos and videos like I mentioned, and it also has read or read receipts, so those will show up if you have that enabled. Messages will also send over Wi-Fi or cellular, so it's great that they finally added this. Something we've wanted for a very long time in iPhone is the ability to schedule messages. You can now do this, but you cannot do this if it's on RCS. For whatever reason, you have to do this while you're on an iMessage. So if we go back, and within an iMessage account, you'll see I've already typed hello, this is a new message scheduled to be sent later. We'll tap the plus button.
Sorry, Chad, we gotta watch that
Messages
again.
gets quite a few updates this time around. If we go into messages, messages now supports RCS. Now this is based on carrier and country, but it should be enabled, but you will need to enable it in your settings. If we go into settings, and then we go down to messages, so go to your apps, scroll down, and then you'll see RCS messaging. Within RCS messaging, make sure this is enabled. Then if we go back to messages, you should see RCS, but it may not show up until you message someone that actually has RCS. Once you actually have that enabled, it adds a few different things, such as better quality photos and videos, emoji reactions, so maybe we want to say we want to react to this one, I could give a thumbs up, that will show up on the other phone as well. So if I bring in a Pixel phone, you'll see it here, where I actually gave a thumbs up, and it showed up on the Pixel 9 Pro XL. Group chats should be much better. It should be easier to text back and forth between Android and iPhone or someone just not using iMessage. And if I start typing, we'll start typing hello, you'll actually see the typing status here on the
That's
iPhone
dope.
while someone on Android is typing. It works the other direction as well. So as I'm typing here on the iPhone, you'll see it on Android. It supports those better quality photos and videos like I mentioned, and it also has read or read receipts, so those will show up if you have that enabled. Messages will also send over Wi-Fi or cellular, so it's great that they finally added this. Something we've wanted for a very long time in iPhone is the ability to schedule messages. You can now do this, but you cannot do this if it's on RCS. For whatever reason, you have to do this while you're on an iMessage. So if we go back, and within an iMessage account, you'll see I've already typed hello, this is a new message scheduled to be sent later. We'll tap the plus button to the left, and we have a new option to send later. If we go into this, we can now schedule when to send the message out by about 2 weeks. So you'll see some of it's grayed out, but if we select maybe this date here, the release date of the iPhone 16, we'll go ahead and select maybe 1 p.m., select wherever you'd like, AM, PM, and then go ahead and tap send. Now it's scheduled. We have the option to edit the message. We can send it now, edit, or delete it altogether. Then we could send another one or schedule multiple messages. So this unfortunately only works on iMessage. Maybe they'll bring it to RCS a little bit later. You can also now send messages up to 100 megabytes. So if you have a big photo you want to send, high quality video, you can do that. And it also improves low quality images. So if you have low quality image mode enabled, it should be improved for minimal loss. We also have the option to format text. So this is a test message for the iOS 18 video. So I'll just let him know here. And maybe I want to highlight some of the words. Tap on the word here. We can of course revert it, but let's go ahead and highlight a couple things. So once we've highlighted them, we have this button here where we can actually format the text. So we can have reactions here. Not only can we have bold, italics, underline, or strike through, can turn those on or off. You now have the option for things such as big, small, nod, or ripple, or jitter, or bloom. All of these are available now, so if I want to change that, let's go ahead and hit send. You'll see it updates here, and then the text actually has effects there. So that's something they've added. Tapbacks also have a new design. So if we double tap here, you'll see the overall design is a little bit different. And you can also see here at the top who sent those tapbacks. So the menu looks a little bit different. I sent 2 before. If I add one, I'll just tap this. You'll see it changes, and now it shows that reaction. Within the emoji keyboard, we now have the option to add emoji in line. So if we add an emoji here, we'll add multiple, and it starts to shrink. Then we can add stickers in line as well. So maybe we want to delete some of those. We can add some stickers in line and do the same thing along with emoji. So that's a nice little update where we couldn't do that before. Also, if I paste a link here, the link card now matches the background of whatever you've pasted from. So if we go back in, maybe we'll go to Apple, and this time around, we'll paste a link from the main page. So if we go back, paste again, you'll see now it's white. So that shows different backgrounds for the link cards based on whatever you're pasting from. Additionally, in specific countries, we'll have messaging via satellite. If we go into our settings for messages again, scroll to the bottom, we have satellite connection demo. Now, you will need a connection to the sky, a clear view of the sky, and it works similar to what you have with emergency SOS. If you tap satellite connection demo, you can turn off cellular, and then it says try to get a clear view of the sky. Once it does this and you connect to a satellite, you'll be able to text from it. So if you don't have cellular or any connection, you'll actually be able to use that in an emergency or just a remote area if you need to. So we'll give it just a moment here. It says keep pointing the satellite, and you'll see it move, and it will help you orient it. Once you've selected that, then you can actually text or message someone. So we'll tap end. Once it's connected, then you could text someone. You'll see you have messages, Find My, roadside assistance in the US, and emergency SOS. Phone gets some very big updates as well. If we go into the phone app, under the keypad, and we start dialing a number, you'll now have T9 dialing. You'll see contacts related to that number specifically, and if we dialed something else, it will show that as well. We can tap 9 more to see the other related numbers to go along with it. If we go to Recents, under Recents we now have images to match the different contacts that have called, and we also have better spacing here. Additionally, we have Search at the top, where we have voice dictation, where we can search by voice, or go into search, and if we type maybe Apple here, you'll see calls related to Apple. We also have voicemails that have transcriptions with Apple in it, as well as related contacts below. So this has been heavily updated and looks much, much better. Favorites looks a little bit better, and if we go back to the keypad and maybe call Apple, so we'll go ahead and call them, turn it down here. The background has been updated. It looks a little nicer. Call recording is coming a little bit later, but if we go into the control center, we have some phone controls at the top. We now have different options related to that. So we have automatic mode, standard mode, voice isolation, and wide spectrum. We also have our different lighting modes if we're in a FaceTime call. So this has been heavily updated, much nicer looking, and easier to access. Back in our control center, if we go to our cellular data options, press and hold. If you have multiple SIM cards installed, you'll have those SIM card options here. Additionally, you can assign a custom voicemail per SIM card this time around, and you have live voicemail coming to more countries very soon.
That's smooth.
Additionally, third-party developers can incorporate live caller ID, allowing more caller ID information.
All of this is very important.
Call recordings coming later this year, hopefully with iOS 18.1. It's a little confusing what Apple's saying about that, as originally they said it was on iPhone 12 and later, so we'll have to wait and see with that. Now if we go back home, and maybe we go back to a message, within messages, if I start typing an equation, maybe 19 plus 15, then I go ahead and tap the equals sign, and it will set the equation.
Yeah, I wasn't all that.
Inline predictions, press space,
He wasn't gonna like it.
predict text.
It's nasty.
Inputs the actual answer.
You bored already?
This works anywhere you can type text.
Yeah, well, we went outside already. We're not going outside, Poppy. We're not going outside yet. We gotta wait. Alright, we just came from outside. I think you forgot. No, you forgot. You totally forgot, Poppy. It's okay. I get it. I get it, little boy. Poppy, no! You're too smart for me. Come, sit down. Sit. Calm down. Stop licking down there. We're going outside, but relax. Not now. Wait. What I
flash,
say?
or convert. Any of
So
these
wait.
calculators can be
Okay.
used in portrait mode now, so you have a portrait
Not
mode
right now.
version of the scientific calculator.
So now we
You have
just
math
watching
notes,
TV.
so you'll see math notes where you can solve
Okay.
math, use variables, and use math in your notes app. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. If we go back to basic here, we can go back and go into conversions. Within conversions, we have a ton of different options. So we can convert between temperature, speed, and many different
Imagine
options.
what's up?
So
Why you breathing
things
so
such
heavy?
as area or currency. So if we go back,
No,
maybe
okay.
convert from
So
grams to tons, we'll put in 52,698, and it
You're not
shows
going
that it's
right now. You're going in a little
0.052
bit. You gotta
tons.
wait.
We'll go ahead and maybe do
This is
something
not
else.
waiting. This is
Switch
anxiety.
between
What you're doing?
conversions back to
Exactly.
basics.
Relax.
We'll times this
No.
times 9, hit equal. It gives our option here.
No.
And
Nobody
in
told you
the
to. No.
left, we have a menu now where it leaves our equations that we've just solved. We
I
can now
know,
press and
puppy.
hold. We have a history of it. We can copy
Gotta go
the
to the
expression,
doctor on Monday.
copy the result, or delete it altogether. So it keeps history of that now. So that's super helpful. You can even create graphs and much more with math notes and other things as well. And again, this carries over to other apps such as Freeform or Notes. So you have unit conversions, graphing, variables, evaluate expressions, and much
I'll
more.
tell you, Papa, we're
If
gonna
we
go
go into
outside in a
Notes
little bit.
itself,
Wait.
let's take a closer look at that. And within
Alright.
Notes, Notes is more powerful with math notes on the iPad as you have the Apple Pencil.
In a
so
little
it
bit,
makes it
Puppy.
easier,
Just
really.
wait.
You
Show
have
here.
the same
And
features
we're here.
here, but maybe you want
Mira,
to
baby, aquí.
write something out. 12 plus 5. If you put an equal sign, it will ask you if you want to solve it. Then solve,
Oh, that's cool.
and it will give you the answer. You can do this with any expression.
That's dope.
Write out many different equations and have
Let's try
it
it.
saved here, and you can just look at it later. Additionally, if we go into a note with variables here, you can say the house equals 1,000, the car equals $400. You can say car plus house, put a little equal sign there, and it will actually give you the answer. So it will solve for that, and you can do this with anything you want, with different lists of maybe your expenses or something else. Now I have a new note with some text here. If I highlight specific text, so let's go ahead and tap on this, we'll highlight iOS 18. If we tap on our options here, with our formatting options, we can now go to colors and change and highlight a color. So we want to highlight some text, maybe using orange or mint or maybe blue, whatever we want, we can highlight it, and then it will highlight that text. Additionally, if we create
Pretty
maybe
cool,
a header
guys.
area,
Look.
so if we go back in, create our heading, we'll say features of updates, then we'll go down and maybe
Look
type
at that shit.
iOS 18, iOS 18.1. It then creates an option here where we can actually shrink this into the title heading. So if we just tap the little arrow, it sort of hides that if we want to hide that away, and we don't want to see that section. Something else that's really great that should be on iPhone 12 and later is the option to actually record audio and have it transcribe it. If we go in here, we can record audio, so under the attachment, record audio. This is new audio for iOS 18 feature showing the new transcribe feature. Now, this didn't transcribe it, but if I tap on this option, it shows the transcription. It will do this in real time. There's some great features that have to do with live transcription in Notes as well as other apps as well. And you'll see it transcribes it. We tap
Oh
done.
wow,
It
this is
places it within
unbelievable.
the
It's a
note.
great
You can
app.
play it back, and you can actually see the
Update.
text here. It's pretty fast, does it in real time, and then you of course can go into it, edit the text, whatever you'd like, copy, paste it, and it's super helpful. Now if we do another audio recording, while we're recording you can swipe down and continue to take notes while it's recording. So if we go back into this, again, go into live transcription, you'll see it in real time, swipe down, and it continues to record. So if you want to use this for notes while you're typing at the same time, you can do that. It may be a little bit glitchy there, as you see, but it allows you to do that. So I think that's a really great feature. We'll stop it from here, and it makes notes much more useful. We also have some font options, however, it doesn't seem to be easily accessible necessarily. So you can see the different sections here as far as what we have, but if we go into our settings, there's a new font section for system. So back under settings and then general, swipe down, you'll see fonts. We now have system fonts. These actually can be installed. It's things that different applications use, and if you have font options within that application, you should be able to select these. So this is on top of what you had with My Fonts. So that's what we had before. Now you have system fonts. Now the overall OS will not let you change the font. So just keep that in mind. You can go into them, see the font itself, These were auto pre-installed. I didn't install any of these. And then, of course, you can just download them if you want to. So it's nice that it's here. It doesn't seem to be fully usable unless that app supports it. Safari gets quite a few updates. If we go into Safari, we'll go to apple.com. You'll see we have a new menu option down here. Tap on the menu and it looks completely different. In fact, we have a new option called Hide Distracting Items. If we go to Hide Distracting Items, we can actually select specific things and make them go away. So if we want to hide this text here, you can make it go away. Maybe select that, hit hide, it removes that from the image. You can select just about anything on a page, make it go away, or tap the little options here again and show the hidden items, and they all just come back. Back in another website, if we go ahead and tap the same options here, we have different options to listen to the page. Of course, we've had that before. Reader gets a redesign, so Reader looks a little bit nicer. It's full screen. You can go through Reader if you want to use that. And additionally, we have some options here for Reader to be in different fonts. So if you want to use Georgia or San Francisco or maybe Times New Roman, you can switch this to whatever you'd like. So it just looks a little bit different, make it larger or smaller, see the different text size, and the options have changed. The menu itself looks much better. Of course, we have our privacy report as well as options to search. So if you want to search within the page, we can look for the word Apple and search easily. They've updated it to just make it a lot easier to use. Additionally, if we go into our options here and we're listening to the page, it's playing back the overall page itself, swipe home, and it will play in the background as you continue to work on something else within your iPhone. So lots of nice features here, and there's some other changes as well. And on this website, if you're in a website that actually shows the location of a specific place or maybe a movie or music, you'll have the option in the highlights section to either listen to the music, see information about the specific place you're looking at, or even watch the video. So if it senses that on a web page, you'll have that option. You can even download and edit video clips if there's video in here directly in the website itself without exiting to photos. If we go into Mail, Apple hasn't updated this just yet. It's basically the exact same we already have, with many of the big features coming later this year, maybe with iOS 18.1, such as categorization. You'll see primary mailbox and many other things. So lots of things are coming later to the Mail app. It just says coming later this year at this point. So lots of things with grouped by sender, recategorization, time-sensitive emails get placed in an email box, but we are getting new cleanup tools for the Mail app, iCloud.com, and iCloud Mail settings. So they're slowly updating it, but with iOS 18, it's mostly the same. Now we have an all-new app for passwords. This time around, Apple's actually added a passwords app. If we go into this, it's password protected, and then you can see we have a search option. Of course, we can use voice dictation to search. We have all of our passwords. It will actually store passkeys, two-factor authentication codes, Wi-Fi, as well as has security alerts and delete it. You can actually share with other people as well. You can create a shared group and then add trusted contacts, choose what to share, and then you can actually control whether or not they continue to see those passwords or you change it. So that's something they've updated with passwords. This replaces the overall keychain basically.
Nope.
It has its own password app. Another thing it does is it syncs end-to-end encrypted with iCloud, and you can also access the passwords on Windows with the iCloud Passwords app. You can share them, like I said, with someone you trust, and if we go into Wi-Fi, we can actually share it here as well if you're sharing with someone that doesn't have an iPhone. So if we go into this Wi-Fi option, you'll see the network name, a password, then you can tap to show the network QR code. So if you don't have an iPhone, you can just bring it close by, you can bring that up, it will show a QR code, and then you can scan it with the camera of another device. And that goes along with an update to security with Wi-Fi as well. If we go into security, and we go over to Wi-Fi, not only do I have the Wi-Fi settings with auto join and password, but I also have a private Wi-Fi address option now. If we go into that, we have the options to turn that off, have it fixed, or have it actually rotate. So this makes it even harder to track where someone is as far as their overall IP address, and harder to sort of track where they're going, and just makes things more private.
Say that
So if you
again.
want to change that, leave it to rotating or fixed, whatever you want is up to you. Apple is, but I also have a private Wi-Fi address option now. If we go into that, we have the options to turn that off, have it fixed, or have it actually rotate. So this makes it even harder to track where someone is as far as their overall IP address, and harder to sort of track where they're going, and just makes change that, leave it to rotating or fixed, whatever you want is up to you. Apple has updated the calendar this year, so if we go into the calendar, that goes along with an update to security with Wi-Fi as well. If we go into security and we go over to Wi-Fi, not only do I have the Wi-Fi settings with auto join and password, but I also have a private Wi-Fi address option now. If we go into that, we have the options to turn that off, have it fixed, or have it actually rotate. So this makes it even harder to track.
Oh man, that's not gonna work though.
IP address and harder to
it's not gonna work because then I gotta take it out.
And just makes things more private overall. So if you want to change that, leave it to rotating or fixed. Whatever you want is up to you. Apple has updated the calendar this year, so if we go into the calendar, it looks pretty much the same, but now we can pinch and zoom to
That's
see
the thing. It makes it hard for me to take it out.
Pinch out, and you can do that, and it gives some nice haptic feedback. We also have view options at the top here, where we have stacked, where we have details, or we have a list.
Yeah.
And then if we go back to compact,
and you can't do that?
If we go into the plus here,
no, I'm saying you can't do that and just bring the cash?
To say, remind me that the iPhone 16 Pro comes out on September 20th. Then we can set
your bro can do that?
here for the 20th. And then, of course, we can have it repeat if we'd want. And it's just a reminder. So we'll have the time set to 2 p.m. and then it adds it to our reminders. If we go into the 20th, we've got the reminder here. Go into it, and you'll see all the information about it. Of course, we could delete the reminder, and this carries across directly to the Reminders app itself. So if we go into Reminders, within Reminders, give it just a second here, you'll see there's the reminder I just created. Of course, we have a recurring reminder with this new icon here, and if you actually have a widget with maybe reminders, so let's go ahead and add one.
I missed all of that.
Reminders widget, and with the widget added, it says recurring reminder. Apple has updated the calendar this year, so if we go into the calendar, it looks pretty much the same, but now we can pinch and zoom to see more information. If you want to change the view, just pinch in or pinch out, and you can do that, and it gives some nice haptic feedback. We also have view options at the top here, where we have stacked, where we have details, or we have a list. And then if we go back to compact, it looks the same. Additionally, if we go into the plus here, we can add a reminder. So maybe we want to say, remind me that the iPhone 16 Pro comes out on September 20th. Then we can set a date here for the 20th. And then, of course, we can have it repeat if we'd want. And it's just a reminder. So we'll have the time set to 2 p.m., hit add, and then it adds it to our reminders. If we go into the 20th, we've got the reminder here. Go into it, and you'll see all the information about it. Of course, we could delete the reminder, and this carries across directly to the Reminders app itself. So if we go into Reminders, within Reminders, give it just a second here, you'll see there's the reminder I just created. Of course, we have a recurring reminder with this new icon here, and if you actually have a widget with maybe reminders, so let's go ahead and add one. We'll add the Reminders widget, and with the widget added, it says recurring reminder, and we have this new icon here to let us know that we actually have a recurring reminder. If we go into our reminders, and maybe we go down to the bottom, you'll see we have recently deleted. So maybe you deleted a reminder, you can now go into it, tap on it, and recover it. So you can recover reminders now if you deleted them by accident. If we go into our calendars, we can further manage our reminders by showing completed reminders or hiding them altogether. Additionally, if we go into our reminders options, there's something new that has to do with adding a language for groceries. So maybe you speak multiple languages, you want to add something else, you can add multiple languages for groceries themselves. So you will need to have a language selected in your overall keyboard, then you can add it here. Within the Today view, it will now show any subtasks you have. It will show in Today, Scheduled, and Smart Lists. So some nice updates to calendar and reminders. Within the Journal app, there's been some updates. If we press and hold on Journal, you'll see we have some options here for new entry, view suggestions, and we have this new Quick Actions menu. If we go into Journal itself, unlock it with Face ID or Touch ID, at the top you'll actually see that we have a menu. Under that menu, we have a new Insights option. Under Insights, it talks about your latest streaks, so maybe you have a current streak of journaling, daily, weekly, and throughout the year. So if you keep track of that and you journal regularly, it will show that here. You can also log your state of mind. You'll get this new little menu or option here the first time you try it on. You can turn this on in the health options. We'll go ahead and hit allow, and if we go to log a new journal entry, maybe we're typing away, this actually counts toward mindful minutes. If we go out, go into the health app, Then we go to Browse, go to Mental Well-Being. We can see our mindful minutes here. It logs that as the time we're typing or maybe entering something else, and it shows all of the apps that contribute to this. Let's go back to Journal, and under Journal, under a new entry, we now can add our state of mind. So this is something we had before with iOS 17. Now we can add this within our journal itself and keep track of that as we're typing. We also have the option to now search our journal entries. You can search by photo, video, music and podcast, places, or just text. So we could say entry, and you'll see here some journal entries. So that's something that they've updated. And also you can record audio. So if we go ahead and maybe start a new one, you'll see some options down here. We've got audio options. This is a new journal entry testing this out in the latest iOS 18 update. We'll tap stop, and here we actually have transcriptions. So you'll see it here, tap the little button, and it transcribes it just like we have in Notes or our Voice Memos app. So the same exact thing takes place in Journal, and you can see that in all of your different entries. We'll tap close, and it keeps track of that. So if you want to use the text, use your voice, you can do that. Also, as we're typing, this is a new journal entry. We now have text formatting options. So let's correct that. We'll go into it. As we select something, we go to our text options here. We can change the different color of the text itself and have all of the different formatting options for the entries in the journal. So it's really nice. They've sort of made this system-wide with all of the different text options, and they've added it in Journal. You can also export it into your journal entry. If we go into the one we already had or just tap the three-dot menu, you can see here we can go to Print, and then we can prepare it and print it out. If we go to the Share option here, we can save it to files as well. If we go into Settings and go to our journaling settings, if we scroll down, you'll see we have a new option for Always Use Moment Date. It says when adding a suggestion to a new entry, always use the date from the moment as the entry date. So I'll go ahead and turn that on. We can also create a new shortcut for the journal entry itself. So
or was it from a wolf? I swear it counts that I gave the town back their gold I took.
So if we go into shortcuts, go to add one, and if we search maybe for journal, we have create audio entry, create entry, or search entry. You may have already noticed in shortcuts that it has sort of a refresh design. So not only do we have additional entries, if we get rid of this, we can see some recent ones here for different actions when we're searching. We have things for controls, or maybe we want things for the device. All of them have nice icons. We can scroll over and see much more. We have some new actions for home, and many other things that have been added if you want to create shortcuts. If we go back home here, tap the down arrow, of course we can move this, add it to home screen, export the file, and much more. So it's just got a little refresh with additional actions. So if you use shortcuts, that should be very helpful. Now battery gets some updates, and some of these are specific to iPhone 15 and newer, but if we go into settings, go to battery, under battery, you'll see here it looks mostly the same, but if we go under battery health, you'll see we have our battery health on this device with information for the cycle count and everything else. But if we go to charging, we have a new option for a charge limit. Of course, we have our optimized battery charging and clean energy charging, but if we want to set this to 80 or 90% to charge at that limit every day, we can do that. I typically just leave it to sort of manage itself. We'll set limit to 100, and then we'll turn on optimized battery charging, let it limit itself and work on its own. You can choose to do this if you want to. And another thing it will let you know is if you have a slow charger. So maybe you're plugged into a charger where this could charge a little bit faster. Maybe you're plugged into a 5-watt charger. It will notify you that it's a little bit slow. Also, Apple will recommend a charge limit based on how you use your phone. If it thinks you could really use maybe an 80% charge limit, you're not using most of your battery, it will recommend that you bring it down. Also, if your battery is completely depleted, you can still see the time on the iPhone 15 models. So maybe your battery's 100% completed or depleted, you'll actually see the time still on the iPhone. One other thing they've updated is you may see little pop-ups or information windows when you install an update. It will tell you that it's going to use additional battery life and processing power, that your phone might get a little bit warmer because it's doing that. It will stay there until it's done processing background items for the latest update. So very helpful information that you may see from time to time. Storage has been updated with some additional information. So if we go into General, then go to iPhone Storage, wait for it to load, it sort of has a nice new look. You'll see we can sort, of course, by size, name, and last use date. And if we scroll down to the bottom, we now have a new entry for hidden apps. So if we go into hidden apps, it's locked as well, and then shows the different information about that. Apple has updated the storage page as well on the iCloud settings. So if we go back into iCloud, where I showed you this was remade a little bit earlier, we go in here, you can see storage, and if we go into that, it has a new look. Once it loads, it goes along with, of course, the redesign to everything else. Just has a different look, showing the size of backups, your photos, your iCloud Drive, and much more. Now, if we go into Maps, this has a new icon you may have already noticed, but if we go into Maps, Apple continues to update Maps, adding better directions and more, but this time around we have national parks in both the USA and Japan to start. If we zoom into Yosemite National Park, we can actually see topographic maps, so we can see different things here. As we zoom in, you can see the topography, and if we zoom out a little bit, we'll go to the info card. We have more information about the different sites, nature, and more. Scroll down, and we actually have hiking trails. So you can see details, but if we go maybe to Clark's Point from Happy Isles hike, we'll go here. It will show the elevation, the time it thinks it will take you to walk this, as well as the distance with turn-by-turn directions. And if we go maybe out of this, we can even create our own custom routes. So if we go here, we want to start from this point. So let's press and hold here. There we are. We can scroll down. Of course, we can remove the pin, but we can actually create a custom route. So we'll start here, and then it says tap the map to add points to your route. So maybe we only want to go to this distance here. So we want to go here. It will show the elevation and then give directions. You can close a loop, just making a walk there and back, if you want to create your own custom route on a trail that's known. So these are great updates if you want to use that and you hike a lot. You can also add notes for different places you've saved. So let's delete that route, and we'll scroll down. We'll remove the pin that we have here, and we'll zoom back out. Now if we go back to Half Dome, this time around, of course, if we go to more, we have add a note, so we can add notes for different places. We can search for different things, search for maybe Yosemite and others, and just add them as we want. So maybe we want Yosemite. You'll see here, we'll go back here again, and then of course we have more where we can add to guides and then pin it. So again, we can download the whole area as well in case we lose our cell signal. Home gets an update this year. If we go into Home, you'll see this is my office. If we go in the upper right, we can switch between local places or whatever we have set up. And this time around, we can actually see electricity usage and rates for Pacific Gas and Electric so far. That goes back to the different energy monitor with the overall widget that I showed you earlier. We don't have any information here, but it will show electricity usage in supported areas. In addition to this, if you have a hands-free lock, you can use it with supported home keys, and then share those keys with others, such as locks, garage doors, and the home system.
He attempts to leave the area,
if you have them shared.
and these officers
Additionally,
opened
you
fire,
can
hitting
pair
him in
matter
the back of the head.
accessories without using
This is a
hub.
mass shooting.
And then later this year, you'll be able to use
Inside
Siri
of our
to
subway
activate
system,
vacuums.
4 people
So
shot.
for vacuums
That's a
and
mass
robot vacuums,
shooting at the
you'll
hands
be
of the
able to use
NYPD.
those.
It
Not
never
a
should
whole
have
lot of
happened. You
changes here as
see
far
a
as
man
how
get
that goes,
shot
but
and
there's a few
killed
little
almost
additions. Within settings, if we scroll
by the
down to
NYPD
privacy and
just a
security,
few steps from
they've
where we are.
redesigned the way it looks, and we
This
have an
did not
info
need to
card at the
happen.
top, and we pretty much have an info card at the top of
We were
every
told
new
that
app
you'll see a
setting.
video of
And then
this
if we
man
go down,
lunging
you'll
at
see we have new
officers. That doesn't
icons for
happen.
things such as calendars. We update
We were
icons to
told
dark
that these
mode,
officers
and then
feared
scroll
for
down
their
further,
lives.
we have
That's
icons
not
for
the
everything.
case.
However, we have a big update in contacts.
You'll
If you go
see
into
Mr.
contacts,
Delpech
not only can
minding
you
his
see the
business
different
in that
icons
train
here
car,
for all the different
being
contacts,
directed away
but
by
we
an
have apps that
officer
are shown here that want to see contacts.
to a place
Now,
where
if it's
he cannot
requesting
exit.
that, you can
There's
actually
one
limit
entrance
that to
and one
one
exit to this train
contact,
station.
none, or all. So if we go into Google Maps, for
He
example,
attempts to
you'll see it
leave
says
the
none.
area,
If I go into limited
and these
access,
officers
we
opened
can then
fire,
select
hitting him in
different
the back of
people
the
we
head.
want to add. Like
This is a
one
mass
person,
shooting.
or we can edit this list and
Inside
pick
of
from
our
our list
subway
of
system,
contacts what we
4
want to
people
share.
shot.
So
That's a
if we
mass
want to share
shooting
all
at
of
the
them, we
hands
can
of the
grant full
NYPD.
access.
It never
None.
should have
It's up
happened.
to
You
you,
see a
and now
man
you can
get
switch
shot
between them.
and killed
If we go back to the main screen and go to screen
by the
time,
NYPD
under screen
just a
time,
few steps
scroll
from where
down to
we are.
communication safety.
And it did
If you
not
have
need to happen.
communication safety enabled, and maybe a
We
child
were
is
told
using it,
that
you'll
you'll
have to
see
put
a
in a
video
screen
of
time
this
password
man
to
lunging at
actually view
officers. That
what's
doesn't
warning
happen.
them about sensitive content.
We were
That's
told
something
that
that's
these
new where they
officers
can
feared
bypass
for
that
their
before, but
lives.
warn them.
That's not the
Now you
case.
can make it so they actually have to put in their passcode to do that. Now, if you're someone who plays a lot of games, they've updated this with a new game mode. This actually will help with overall performance for games when it starts. It actually senses that it's a game and will enable this mode to improve frame rates and keep them consistent. So if we go into a game here, let's go into Minecraft quickly. You'll see it takes just a moment and it recognizes it's a game, turns on game mode, and then loads the overall application. This not only improves overall speed of the game and frame rates, but it improves wireless controller latency and also helps with low latency audio on AirPods. It adds 16-bit 48 kilohertz audio. So this should help greatly if you play a lot of games with heating and everything else. And those gaming updates work alongside the AirPods. Now you'll have personalized spatial audio for gaming, and many of these features are specific to the AirPods Pro 2 and AirPods 4 at this point, mostly with the noise cancellation. But if we go into our settings, and we'll go back here so that we're underneath the AirPods here. So within AirPods, you'll see we have sort of a new menu where we have noise control, where we have off, transparency, adaptive, and noise cancellation, and then we have some options here. As I scroll down, you may notice already that we have new personalized volume, conversational awareness, and loud sound reaction options. So we can turn those on or off, however we choose, and go into adaptive audio as well, where we now have a slider where we can adjust this for more noise, default, or less noise. So you can fully customize that or just keep these off so it turns on the full amount of noise cancellation. If we scroll down, we have an additional option here for head gestures. This is something I actually use regularly now, and you can nod your head up or down or left or right to either accept or reject notifications, phone calls, or different text message replies. So Siri will notify you, and then you can actually try this out, and you get sort of a sound within the earpods or AirPods themselves that sounds like a little ball is bouncing back and forth, jiggling left to right or up and down. So if you're using this, it works really great.
At Sierra, Jack discovered great pickleball gear at incredible prices,
That's yours.
which led to another discovery. His dad does care.
Got it.
How about pickleball?
Come on.
Discover top brands at unexpectedly low prices. Sierra, let's get moving.
Do you have a label printer? Are you having problems with the software that came with your printer? Are you looking for a good solution for Windows and Mac? I've got something to show you. Everybody seems to hate label printers. Maybe not the printer itself, but the drivers and the dinosaur software you have to download to install. Or worse, maybe you have to buy expensive software even to use your printer. And if you're on a Mac, good luck. I'm going to show you how you can take advantage of the label printer you already own using a Mac or Windows PC and start designing and printing professional looking labels with just a few clicks. Check it out. Let's start with barcodes. Click on the barcode button and you'll see a list of all the different barcodes that Label Live supports. Let's start with QR code. Here we can edit the value that the QR code displays.
Also, if I place these in my ear and make a phone call, there's a new option for AirPods Pro 2. And when you're on a phone call, if you go into your control center, go to your phone controls, you have automatic, standard, and a new voice isolation. So if you want to use voice isolation, it will limit what's around you and make it easier for others to hear you. Apple just got to use voice controls, you have automatic. And when you're on a phone call, if you go into your control center, go to your phone controls, you have automatic, standard, and a new voice isolation. So if you want to use voice isolation, it will limit what's around you and make it easier for others to hear you. Apple just got clearance for one of the new features coming very soon from the FDA, where you can use AirPods as a hearing aid. Scroll down here on their webpage, you can see more about it, where you can actually take a hearing test and then it will recommend different settings, or you can actually use your AirPods as clinical grade hearing aids. So this is something that you could use if you can't really afford more expensive ones. You can just use AirPods Pro. They may be more socially acceptable as well, and then use them as a hearing aid, and it will adjust dynamically based on how well you hear. So this is a great thing that they've added, and hopefully will be coming very, very soon. Accessibility gets some new updates. If we go into accessibility, there's a new option here for eye tracking. This is an all-new feature that allows you to use your eyes. You can stare at something or dwell on it, and it will actually select it. So if you want to turn this on, you can turn it on, and then you actually have to set it up by following the dot with your eyes around as it moves around the screen. So let me go ahead and set it up. You'll see the idea here. I'm just staring at the dot as it moves around. It's confirming my eye placement. We're almost done setting it up. It finishes with the dot in the middle. Then we can use our eyes to look around. We can set up dwell control, turn it on or off, Just look at something, it will select. Look at it again, it will deselect. And you can use your eyes to control the entire phone. So if you aren't able to use your hands and you want this set up, you can now use your eyes to sort of look around, change different options, and more. Now if we scroll down a little bit further, underneath personal voice, we now have vocal shortcuts. If we go into this and set it up, it says you can teach your iPhone to recognize a custom phrase that you can say to quickly perform an action. Audio is processed on the phone. So if we turn this on and set it up, we can then set it up using an action, so we can use any one of these shortcuts or do a Siri request. So maybe we want to run maybe Bluetooth off just as a shortcut. I'll say Bluetooth off, then tap go, and Bluetooth off. Bluetooth off. Bluetooth off. Once I've set the different word 3 different times, it says action is ready. So now it will actually listen for this. So we'll go ahead and tap don't share. Now we're set up. Bluetooth off. Give it just a moment, it runs it, and then it actually ran that shortcut, and my Bluetooth is turned off. If I go back in, turn it back on, now it's enabled again. So you can actually do this with any custom phrase that you'd like. Add an action, set it up one by one, have a Siri request, or anything else you'd like. So lots of different shortcuts that it can actually use from selections here with switch control and other things, or just a shortcut you already have created. If we go under physical and motor and under touch, then we go to assistive touch and then customize top level menu. We now have a new option for type to Siri as well as Apple Watch mirroring. So we have 2 new options there. If we enable it, you'll see type to Siri works just like you would expect. You can now type to use Siri. Within the voiceover options, if we go to speech, within speech, if we go to primary voice, then we tap on the voice again, you'll see that we have a bunch of different options. We have Allison, Allison Enhanced, and we can just scroll on and on with different voices. We can select Siri and more. So maybe we want Zoe Premium.
Hello, my name is Zoe. I am an American English voice.
We have Tom Enhanced.
My name is Tom. I am an American English voice.
And you can select different options. There's Australian voices and much more. We even have eloquence. We have different options here. And if we go back, we can control the actual volume, pitch, and rate of each one of those voices. Now, if we go back one more, you may have already noticed that we have additional voices under Add Rotor Voice. So you have a lot of different options here. You can select individually with English, or Bangla, or Arabic, whatever works best for you. Within settings, if you have a phone with the action button, we now have the option for accessibility where we can add the magnifier. If you have this set, quickly access it, go into your action button, and it will open up magnifier. If we go back into our settings, go back, go under accessibility, magnifier. If you have this set, quickly now have the option for accessibility where we can add the magnifier. If you have this set, quickly access it, go into your action button, and it will open up magnifier. If we go back into our settings, go back, go under accessibility. Within accessibility, under voiceover, under Braille, we have some additional options. We can launch apps with your Braille device, so they've updated that. And they've also added Japanese language availability for Braille screen input. It also supports multi-line Braille with dot pad and the option to choose different inputs and output tables. So you've got Braille screen input and then different options for that they've added.
This thing? It's what's going on inside of me. It's my moderate to severe ulcerative colitis.
They've also added hover typing. And within accessibility, this time under keyboards and typing, if we go to hover typing, we can turn this on. We've had this for a little while on iPad, now it's on the iPhone. So now while you're typing, it should actually be larger text. So if we go into notes and I begin to type, this is a new note, you'll actually see the hover typing pop up. Now, of course, this is a larger note, so it won't make much of a difference, but we can see it more easily now. And it just is something that they've added that we didn't have before to make it easier to manage. You can swipe it off the screen and bring it back. Now, if we go back into settings, you can turn that off, of course. And the next thing we have that's been updated is personal voice. Personal voice is something they added a little while ago. So under personal voice, you can create your own personal voice. So if you're losing your ability to speak, you can actually capture some of that sound, and they're now adding it for Mandarin Chinese. Also, users who have difficulty pronouncing or reading full sentences will be able to create a personal voice using shortened phrases. So if you go into create personal voice, you have those new options here. So if we tap continue, we can tap English or Chinese now, and then create a new voice using all of those new features. Another update has to do with switch control. If we go down to switch control, and if we want to enable this, we can actually use switch control gestures, but we now have a new option that allows for using the cameras on your iPhone or iPad. So if you add a switch control, we have camera, then we can use head gestures, left head movement, and then select an item. So we can have it stop scanning or tap if I move my head to the left, and then we can have add a new switch, camera, head gestures, right head movement, and then tap home. So we have that option to move your head left or right to control different things. You'll see here it's working as intended, and if we go back, we have those new options in switch control. Within voice control, under vocabulary, you can import a vocabulary if you'd like, or if we go back, go to entries, we can then add a custom vocabulary. It says enter the word or phrase that you would like voice control to recognize. So maybe you have a hard time saying a specific word, you can then actually enter that. So it's actually recording what I'm saying now, so we'll tap next, and then you can teach voice control how you'll say this. One other thing I wanted to mention is friend of the channel Colin Hughes has actually said Apple has finally added the ability for when you add something custom within voice control, it will now capitalize proper nouns. So if you've added that to custom vocabularies, that will finally work properly. There's also an option under motion for motion cues. This has to do with when you're in a vehicle, not using CarPlay necessarily, but when you're in a vehicle and moving, if we turn this on, you'll see dots on the screen that actually sense motion. So as I move the phone around, the dots will actually move and try and help me maintain sort of not having motion sickness. It seems to work pretty well for me, and as you accelerate faster, the dots start to move more, and you can see them on the screen move around. So this is something that works really well. I have it on automatic, so when I get in a vehicle, it senses that motion and then puts them on the screen. Apple CarPlay gets some updates in iOS 18. The first one has to do with spatial audio. It now works in compatible vehicles as long as you have it enabled in Apple Music with that compatible vehicle. You can then take advantage of that if you choose to use it. Now I have my iPhone connected to an Apple CarPlay device, so it's connected right now, so I can show you the latest features. The first thing is the home button has changed a little bit. It's now like a round or sort of rounded square, similar to what we had on the home buttons of older iPhones. If we go into settings, we can go to wallpaper, and we have some wallpaper for iOS 18. We have different ones that will switch between light and dark mode depending on what you set, and there's a few different options here. So you can pick whatever works for you, maybe matches your car, and then again it switches between light and dark mode. If we go back home, we have additional features with messages. If we go into messages, we now have contact photos on the left, similar to what we have in iMessage right now. The contact image will also show up when you receive a notification or a phone call. And also when you go to send a message to someone using messages via Siri, you'll have actually a new interface. So let's go ahead and try that. Send a message to Zach Zolo. This is a test message showing CarPlay on iOS 18. You'll see the overall interface is different with larger buttons, so we'll tap cancel, but you have a slightly different change there, with much easier to press buttons. If we go into maps, within maps, highways are more clearly labeled this time around, and also if we go into Siri, it's now bilingual. So if you're using Siri, you can use it with multiple languages. I can also ask Siri a sports score, or even the weather, and it will show on the screen now. What was the Carolina Panthers score last? So you can see we have a new dialogue that pops up, and again, the same for weather. What's the weather tomorrow? And within settings, we have a few different options. We now have silent mode, where we can have it mirror the iPhone's silent mode settings when you connect to CarPlay. You can have it turn on or turn off silent mode as well. If we go back to settings, we now have some accessibility settings. The first thing is bold text and color filters. So if we turn on bold text, we can bold the text all together on the display. We can turn that off if we'd like. And if we go into color filters, we have options for different filters such as grayscale, red-green filter, green-red filter, blue-yellow, and also intensity. So if we want to change the intensity, we can do that, whatever we'd like, and so we can actually see this a little bit better. Also, if we go back into our settings, scroll down a little bit further, we have voice control. So under voice control, it will now allow you to use your iPhone's microphone to control CarPlay with voice commands. So let's try this out. Go home. Open music. Go home. Go to settings. Open settings.
Alright, child, we going outside. I'll chat with you guys later.
Do you ever struggle